And welcome to another edition of Try Knoxville. Mike Roberts along with you. We're broadcasting from the Marion County Tribune studios, as I always like to say, even though it's one studio inside of another office. But Kevin Stitchworth, a gentleman, if you grew up around here, is our guest today. And Kevin, first of all, thanks for taking time out of your schedule. I know things are a little bit busy and a little bit hectic right now in your world, as everybody else's. You're trying to adjust to the lifestyle we're living in.
It is a little bit of adjustment, but it's just one day at a time, right?
Yeah. I've known you pretty much all your life, and you brought it up before we started the show, and I'm going to say I don't think I ever remember the hair being this long.
Right? Yeah. This is the I need a haircut edition.
Yeah.
So totally, and if anyone knows me, I like to get my haircut a couple weeks, and I'm just blessed at this age that I've got this much hair.
I'm going to say don't complain. There's a reason I wear a hat.
Yes,
so.
right? Yeah, I'm blessed. There's some spots up there, but hey, I'll take it at this point. But I'm looking like a koala more than anything right now, so it's all right. Everyone is, so.
For people that did not grow up in Knoxville, weren't born here, or haven't been around forever, tell us about Kevin Stitchworth and your youth, if you will, your younger days.
My youth. Wow, we're going way back. But
the way back machine, we call it.
Way back, yeah. I've been blessed. I'm probably one of those, kind of like you maybe, where my family's just kind of grown up in this town. So my parents both graduated from the class of 66 here, and all of their brothers and sisters graduated here. My grandparents settled here. My grandma Betty and Grandpa Arthur lived out on the farm. Then my grandma Elizabeth and Grandpa Don lived here in town. So I had the best of both worlds,
right?
Because I had everyone here and all my cousins, and we'd get together every Sunday out at my grandparents Stitchworth's for family dinner, and usually for lunch we'd be at my other grandparents for right after church. So I've just been blessed to just kind of grow up in this community and just have some good support. I went to the Baptist school. I don't know how many people would remember the Baptist school.
My cousins went there. Ron and Lisa went there.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. Yep. Oh boy, those are some trouble.
Long time ago.
Yeah. But so I went to the Baptist school till I was in 8th grade. It was part of the regular Baptist church here in town, and I've got some good, solid foundation and good core work in the sense of establishing my faith and. Just who I was as a person,
right.
You know, and it was a great time. And then transferred over. The Baptist school shut down right after my 8th grade year, so transferred over to public school back in the old Nell McGowan Junior High. As a freshman.
Multi-story complexes.
Well, yes, I'm fortunate to have gone there because of just the history of it,
right.
And that was something special. And so that was my first introduction into the public school. I knew a handful of people. About my age, just from different sports, but I didn't really know too many. So I just kind of got immersed into the class, and I have a great high school class of 91, and just that whole era.
My sister's proud of you right now.
I know, right? Yeah. Nikki's one of my favorites. Absolutely, yeah. She we had one of those special classes where everyone. You may have different pockets of friends, but we all just love each other and just have a great old roaring time when we get back together for our reunions. So it was a great era. It was a great time. Of course, we were at the old high school at the time. And just some great experiences. My senior year, we had a blast because, I was just a skinny cross-country guy and actually wasn't a good one either. I was about 120 pounds wet, and I had never gone out for cross-country until my junior year, and Coach Stoltz was incredible. He really knew how to push the buttons to get the most out of people. And so that was a fun time. But during my senior year, we had just success, not only in sports, but academics and music and such. So, that's the year that we went to the state playoffs in football, and the volleyball team and cross country teams, and won the state track title. So we just had a blast. I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better senior year.
Just to back up a little bit, you're talking about the Baptist school, and for those that don't know where the school was, that's actually the 4-H extension office now, the Marion County extension office, I should say.
Right.
And the times have changed, if you will, around Knoxville as far as what buildings are where. And when we were growing up, I remember, and I mentioned my cousins going there. I remember going there, and where the gymnasium / auditorium is, that was like the major function of the whole school right there. I mean, everything happened event-wise right there.
Right. And the gym was even, I believe it was even smaller than a junior high gym.
Yeah.
In the sense of, so we had varsity contests there. This was back in the day when Grandview Park Baptist wasn't necessarily as big, but they were still pretty good.
Sure.
And we played like Marshalltown Baptist and different places. But yeah, I mean, they had to adjust to our smaller court, which was a lot of fun, because we were used to it, but
Right.
it was difficult for them, especially when you had 10 people on that court. But then you're right, the stage up there, that converted into our whole, that gym was our event center,
Sure.
I guess.
Sure.
So we had our concerts and programs up on that stage. So yeah, it was a great place, and I have fond memories of just my time there.
You talked about music when you got into high school, but
Yeah.
I mean, literally, you started a music career, if you will, or passion, back at the Baptist school.
I did, yeah. We had a great music teacher, Bonnie Lee Schaefer. She was incredible, and she really gave me my hunger for music and just really helped develop my talent. So, and she loved it. She just lived and breathed music. And from that, I played trumpet back in the day, and then I just always have played piano. So when I was in first grade or so, I just started playing piano, and I loved it.
Who taught you, or did you self-teach?
Mrs. Julene, so
Oh,
Marie
yeah.
Julene, yes, she taught me, and she wouldn't take me till I could read, and I could read it in kindergarten, but she wouldn't take me till first grade. So, that's when I started playing for her and learning from her, and then eventually Mrs. Newberry taught me from there until about ninth grade. And I was a bad student. I did not do my drills, my dozen a day drills, and I didn't play necessarily what they gave me. I always would play something out of like a songbook or the hymn book, and just try to piece it together. And I'm a good sight reader, which means I can, like, you give me a piece of music and I can pretty much look at it and kind of play it. And they knew it. Right. So they started giving me more challenging pieces, and eventually I was blessed to, growing up in my church, just step in when some of the older students who were playing piano for the church had graduated. So I stepped in at ninth grade and started playing for the congregation. I can only imagine how horrible that was, accompanying and such. And but that's where I kind of got my teeth into just really loving the music and seeing how powerful music could be.
Performing in public can be stressful at times.
It can be, and I remember getting butterflies a lot and just really just having maybe a little panic attack. But I think, nowadays it's kind of like second nature for me. Like, sure. It's, once you do it for so long, and, I've played for weddings and accompanied friends and all that, the nerves go away. Yeah, there might be some times where you get a little anxious, but I just kind of go in with it with the mindset of like, you're prepared, and you just kind of think ahead through that whole scenario. Like my whole goal is, like, especially during a service or during a wedding, is to make sure that I'm not seen, I'm heard, and right. I keep the flow going. So when you have that kind of mindset, then you just don't let the butterflies or anything sink in. So.
During the wedding, the bride has to be happy. That's what I.
It's not about anybody but the bride.
Exactly.
And the mom sometimes.
Oh,
too.
yeah. You talk about the butterflies and stuff. I can remember one-on-one, I'm fine with you. I can talk to 30,000 people across the street at Knoxville Raceway.
Yeah.
I get a classroom of about 10 or 20.
Yeah.
And that's when mine kick in. I mean, is there a crowd difference for you as far as who you're in front of or who you're not or what you're doing?
I would say not as much anymore.
Okay.
No, yeah. and that's whether that's public speaking or whether it's playing piano.
Right.
No, I mean I played for thousands before for certain things, and I played for just an intimate group, and some of the best ones were especially when my grandma was at the nursing home.
Mm-hmm.
Going there and wow, just seeing the power of playing an old hymn, and all of a sudden you'd see people wheeling out, and all of a sudden they're humming or singing a verse that, the nurses will say, man, they don't say much. Sure. But the music brings them out. So,
you're bringing up good times and good memories when you're doing that.
You're right. Absolutely. So there's something powerful with it, right. For sure.
We talked about growing up and getting to high school, and you played trumpet and your performances and everything else, but I want to kind of tie this more to the town itself, and I noticed right away when you talked about going out for Sunday dinner at your grandparents'.
Yeah.
You naturally pointed towards the direction.
Yeah.
That's you grew up in your area. That's
Right.
what it's just one of your tops.
Yep.
You naturally point on that. To grow up in Knoxville, and I'll be the first one to admit it. When I graduated, I hit the stage, crossed it, and took off.
Yeah.
Too small a town. I'm gonna make it big. Not coming back. 2 weeks later, I'm back.
Right.
I just it's unbelievable. But some of the names that you triggered in my memory banks here are some of the reasons why we stay, why we enjoy growing up in Knoxville.
Absolutely.
And you graduated in '91.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think? Am I out? Am I staying? What am I doing?
I honestly always had in my head I was coming back to Knoxville. Like, this was my hometown.
Sure.
This is where my family was. This is where my friends were. I guess I didn't really think too far ahead, other than I knew there was something special here in town, and I wanted to continue to be a part of it. So, I didn't go too far away. When I graduated, I went to Central
Right.
for school and graduated with a communications degree. And, as I was looking for a job, I knew that what I wanted to do, whether it was in the PR marketing field, there weren't many opportunities in small town Iowa. So I knew that I'd probably be commuting quite a bit to Des Moines. However, I wanted to be rooted here.
Right.
I wanted to come back to a place where, I could see someone at the store and say hi and know them and have a conversation and just have that connection still. So I was very purposeful in, trying to stick around the Des Moines, Newton, Knoxville area in order for my career. And so I could also just give back to my hometown. And plus, my grandparents, I was blessed. They lived very long lives.
Right.
And so I wanted to be around and be part of that and not miss out on that.
That is something special. Both my grandmothers lived long lives. My grandfather passed away in their 70s, but there is something special, and I think we kind of, I don't want to say take it for granted, but we kind of got used to the fact that they are going to be around. But I've noticed with you, I've even seen a little bit in me, the values were instilled eventually. It may take longer for others to come out,
Right.
but eventually you start making decisions that, hey, your grandparents would have done it this way, or your folks. And I love your mom to death, by the way. I mean, I don't think, my mom's a sweetheart. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think there's anybody sweeter than your mother.
Well, there isn't anyone she doesn't know.
Yeah.
So they say that I've kind of picked up her gift of gab and know anyone, and I'm blessed that way. My grandpa was that same way, and kind of what you were saying. That work ethic. My two grandparents and my dad were raised on a farm,
Right.
and that was instilled in with me. And then my grandpa and grandma both worked at the VA, and so they just knew what hard work was. And that, I think we could learn a lot from that era, that Depression era,
Right.
where they just did, and that's all they did. And when you look at this past month, with this whole COVID,
Right.
People are, what they're missing out on is that connectedness. And, we have that because we're here with our loved ones, right? But then there's some that they're staying connected over digitally.
Right.
And it's great, but it's not the same.
It's not even close.
People yearn for that one-on-one and connectedness. And, that's why I feel blessed that I did stick around just to have my grandparents and folks and everyone around.
I go with that. The electronics is great. It's great to be able to get on a Zoom or FaceTime or whatever, and don't touch your face. I do it all the time.
Yeah.
My daughter, her husband was stationed out in Hawaii. So when they were first married, they moved out to Hawaii. He did his thing with Marines. My grandson was born, got to be there, and then boom, they took off for Hawaii.
Yeah.
So we did a lot of FaceTime, and I was blessed. I got to do it.
Right.
But there ain't nothing better than one-on-one, especially grandchildren, just holding them and hugging them and everything else, But this has been a tough time we've been going through, and there's no doubt about it. We'll adjust. We'll make things happen, and things will get back to normal someday. But one of the normal things that you do, and if you paid attention early in the show, if I've listened to this thing, your faith and your music, and you've combined them.
Mm-hmm.
And I mentioned before we started we were going to talk about your CD, and you kind of joke around and say, it's a monkey could do it, but not your average monkey. You've got a great CD out. You did that 5 years ago?
Yeah, I've actually got 2 out.
Yeah.
I did.
Was first one 5 years ago?
It was 6 years.
6 years
yeah,
ago, okay.
Feels like yesterday,
Yeah.
but yeah. First one was like one that was just hymns, old hymns.
Right.
Rugged Cross, Blessed Assurance, and also I had written like a song that I surprised my sister and brother-in-law for their wedding. It was just a little ditty, so I had a friend sing that. And then a couple years later, I did one for a Christmas album. So, and that one I went advanced and I included that one out on social media. So that's out on like Spotify and all that. So for me, it was more, I did it for other people that really wanted to hear certain songs. And, I have a couple that people request all the time. And I'm like, for me, this was just one way to be able for them to hear it at any time. And I wanted to just kind of, pay special tribute to those who helped foster my talents. So, and that included my parents and grandparents who paid for my lessons and all my teachers and all that, And so when I did do those albums, it wasn't a moneymaker. And most artists aren't going to make money off it. That wasn't my intent. My intent, I tried to take the focus off me a little bit, and I donated some of the proceeds to certain organizations around town, like the Humane Society, and then I know the school at the time was fundraising for a piano. So that was my way of giving back because people were giving to me. But yeah, the faith and the music are just too big, and family. They're just all big components in my life. And, we've talked about this in the sense of keeping me grounded. And I think that's partly why I haven't strayed too far away from Knoxville, is because I have that foundation here and those pillars that I can lean on. And that circle has grown as time has gone on, and I've met new people and made new friends. And had new experiences. So
last week I had Shane Smith from Aussie Agencies on, and he transferred here from Australia, obviously.
Yeah.
And his story was something else too. But one of the things he said was that it's the friendly faces of the community and the people we work with. And again, I know I keep pushing try Knoxville, but your story alone, the giving back, your community involvement, the ideas you've had. I know how old you are. You graduated with my sister. But your experiences that you've had and the things you do are generations ahead of your time. You're old school, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I do have that kind of mentality, I think.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
No.
You don't see that in the bigger cities. I'm
no.
Somebody that's living in Des Moines or Minneapolis, whatever, like, oh, we got that. No, you don't.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's just a credit to those who have gone before us,
right? The
leaders in the community that have, things you take for granted. A couple months ago, we had a chamber annual event. So I'm president of the chamber board.
Right.
And one thing that we were talking about was just kind of our future. But I kind of, excuse me, I gave a presentation about kind of walking through the past. I mentioned some names earlier that kind of triggered some memories for you, but I just kind of went through a laundry list of put yourself in this 5-year-old and 10-year-old's position, and like imagine yourself going into the People store and hiding among the clothing racks, from your mom and Bonnie Crook.
Yeah, Jack and Bonnie, and
and going to Gamble's and Spurgeon's and Pomida, buying the back then cassette tapes, the latest cassette tapes for your road trips. So those things that fostered my childhood and adolescence are, I appreciate the people that invested in our town to do that. And so I want to help pay that forward and, use whatever experiences and talents I have so that we can continue that reputation, that tradition, so that this next generation wants to come back to Knoxville and just enjoys being around here.
I don't know if you're going to take this as a compliment or not. You mentioned the chamber and some of the things you're involved in. I automatically think of Chuck Day.
Right.
We lost Chuck last winter.
Yeah.
And, you talk about a huge influence in chamber, but Chuck was also involved in everything in town, not just the chamber functions, but he was involved in everything, kind of like you are, and Chuck had his own new ideas, kind of like you do. You came up with a prayer walk. here. Has it been 2 years now?
It was last fall.
Last fall, yeah.
Yeah. So, no, I appreciate that. And I think you're giving me way too much credit. But,
Well,
it
exploded for one thing.
we were humbled. So Tyler Pearson and I, we had talked for about a year. We've had some hardships and some tragedies. And we wanted to somehow be role models for this younger generation that's maybe struggling, as well as just, people our own age, just to let them know that Jesus loves them and that there are people here that care for them. And so we're trying to, like, what can we do? Can we create a mentoring program or whatever? And we landed on a prayer walk, and we pulled it together in the summer, and with not much advertising and just word of mouth. And it was funny because we held it the weekend after Labor Day in September. And, we had great support from the churches and the Ministerial Association and friends and such. And I kid you not, it was 10 minutes before the prayer walk started. I looked over, my folks were helping, and Tyler was there. And I we said this was at 2:00, right? And I'm like, yeah. And then it was like all of a sudden someone yelled free pancakes or something. And there's just this mass of people that came in. We ended up with over 250 people from 18 different churches join us.
Right.
And it was just a huge blessing. It was just, I don't know, humbling to see how people of different faiths and cross generations, people that didn't even know each other, went out and just prayed for our community. And I tell you, there was just something special about that day, but I don't know. I feel like we felt it ever since. Like, there's been changes that we prayed for way back in September that we're now enjoying, like the VA. And, what we've done too is with the prayer walk, we've tried to continue that momentum and kind of keep it top of mind. So we created early on a Facebook and Instagram page that's Knoxville Prayer Walk, and we post a weekly prayer every Sunday, just for people to rally around and focus our requests on.
Right.
And I feel like they've helped. If anything, it's bonded people. And I've seen the Spirit move. The Holy Spirit's just moved in this town, and things that we were unable to do or had roadblocks with, I've seen those just kind of get torn down.
It always amazes me, and I'm going to brag about our town again, like I always do. And you talk about the Spirit. I'll use Jim Udemark and Jim and Angie and Coaches versus Cancer.
Right.
Coaches versus Cancer has been around a long time.
Yeah.
But these two and this community as a whole, we lead the nation in money raised now for Coaches versus Cancer. We have.
Right.
A little town of 7,300 at last census. Hopefully we're a little bigger this next census around. But the bottom line is little Knoxville, Iowa.
Right.
And you talk about all of a sudden that somebody yelled free pancakes and they showed up. I can literally see this community also going, okay, Kevin's around the corner. Let's all of us, 250 of us, be around the corner.
Yeah,
we'll wait till the last minute,
Probably happened.
It's one of them things. I always use it in our town. It's okay for me to kick my dog, but don't you dare kick my dog.
Yeah.
When we come together as a community,
right.
There's no other community stronger than Knoxville is. In my feelings, I mean, we've lived it. You and I have been blessed about being around here. We see this.
Mm-hmm.
And when someone needs a hand, when someone needs help, and I'm not talking a financial dollar. I'm talking about unloading a pickup or needing a ride across town or whatever. There's a reason why we don't have 15 taxi cabs in Knoxville, Iowa.
Right.
Everybody knows everybody.
Yeah. Well, and to your point, I've said this all along, where our people are our greatest asset in this community, because when you look at just the past 10, 20 years, you think about way back when Ald Park, when they were reconstructing the gym there, the playground.
Yep.
Think about the Grand Theater, how people came together for that, and people rallied around the Kenlock Stadium. And whenever there is someone who has had a health issue, how many people jump in for some kind of silent auction or something?
Yep.
We're blessed, and as you know, I work at the hospital.
Right. The gala, I use that for a fundraiser too.
Yeah. So, I've been blessed in my role as director of foundation and PR at the hospital to see firsthand the generosity of our community.
Right.
People just who have been coming out left and right, whether it was a kind word or just dropping off some cookies to our hospital, or
Right.
or giving us financial contributions or making masks. I mean, it's been a blessing and it's been a huge morale booster. But I wouldn't expect anything different in our town. I mean, that was people just instinctively. I mean, it was to the point where I hadn't even put any organization to this generosity, and I was already far behind because people had already started reaching out to us. How can we help? So then, as I started to create that list of like, man, just because we want to recognize our friends, it's just humbling to look at that entire list of people and what they've done and how they've helped in small and big ways. I've got this favorite quote of mine, and this is total nerd coming out on me. But,
You always do that.
I know. I'm a total nerd. But so I'm a big like DC Comics, superhero fan, and so one of my favorite shows was Smallville, and it was
Yep.
on TV many years ago, and it was about Clark Kent as a teenager.
Wasn't that long ago. Don't say many years ago.
Well,
Wasn't that long
it's
ago.
off the air 10 years. I know,
but
right?
Gosh.
Yeah, but Clark Kent was a teenager and he was getting his abilities and becoming Superman. And towards the end of that series,
Right.
there was one episode where he was struggling with the burden of who he would become, that hero, and trying to be that everyman to everybody kind of weighing down on him, and he just didn't know if he wanted that responsibility.
Right.
And I remember there was it was Brainiac, who I don't know what version he was, but he's a villain in some episodes, but he had talked to Clark and just said to kind of help him through this and understand what he could become. This is my quote, and I use it a lot, is a hero is made in the moment, not by questioning the past or fearing what is to come. So if you think about that, a hero is made in the moment, not by questioning the past or fearing what is to come.
Right.
You do what you do right now. You're not worried about where you came from or how you got there. You're not worried about what's going to happen because of your actions. You just do because you're doing.
Right.
And that, to me, this past month with this whole COVID, just seeing communities come together, especially our community, helping each other out,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's supporting the local, small business restaurant, or just someone, helping someone by giving them some groceries. I mean, it has been, if anything, there's been some hardships through this whole past month, but there's been some blessings and beauty in it. And I'm seeing everyone as a hero.
Right.
And it's whether they're a hero to their kids or their students or their pets or their grandparents or a larger audience, you're a hero.
Right.
In fact, I'm kind of going off subject here a little bit. It was funny. I went for a walk last night, and around the corner there was a dad who was mowing, and all of a sudden his son was probably maybe 10 years old, if that, and he was instructing that son like the son had never been behind a mower. And so he was instructing, like, okay, you got to follow this line, and here's what you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you what, that little kid was a hero to me, because it took me back. It took my mind off everything that's been going on. It took me back to when my dad and my grandpa were like trying to teach me how to stay in the lines and what
Sure.
to do. And it just made my day. And so there's little things that people do every day, whether you know it or not, you're a hero. And so I love this past month how it's just blossomed, and people are just really finding out who they are and what they can do and what they can accomplish.
One of my last questions I ask every Try Knoxville show is, if I'm a stranger coming into town or I'm new to the town, how do you convince me to stay and Try Knoxville? I think you just did it right there. I mean, the things that we get to see, the community efforts, the heroes, as you call them.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it doesn't happen in the larger cities. I'm sure in its own way it does.
Right.
But you can't just go out for a walk like you mentioned and run into it.
Right. You can't. And you know what I do when people come into town or they're visiting? I try to get them in front of as many Knoxville people as possible, get them connected and rooted.
Right.
Because once you're here, you're part of our family,
Yeah.
and you'll know there's something special in this town once you come visit,
Yeah.
So, and that's why I think one of the reasons our races are so successful, because people love our community. They know that it's a safe place, and we're going to just give them the shirt off our back and just have a good old time.
Yeah, I think the races is a good marketing tool for getting people to see the rest of the town.
Absolutely.
I've said that for years, and again, back to Shane Smith last week, the races was the reason he came to town.
Yeah.
Wasn't the reason he stayed.
Right.
And it's the other things that go on. There's so much to talk to you about, and I want to touch on one more thing before we get done with the show, only because I didn't know about this. And Olive Chapel.
Yeah.
And your connection there. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So Olive Chapel is.
I have family out there.
Okay.
At cemetery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's Olive Chapel is out near Attica.
Yeah.
And it's a little country church,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been blessed. They asked me. I've been playing there for almost 25 years, which was hard for me to think of. But when I think about it, there's some of the they're not kids anymore, but that were 5 years old that are now 30.
They got their own kids.
They got
now.
their own
Yeah,
kids,
yeah.
and so I'm seeing that come full circle. But so yeah, it's they're a blessing to me. There's about 30 of us that meet together and worship together, and Pastor Gihon is the pastor, and he goes from Olive Chapel at 9 o'clock to Attica at 10 to Pershing at 11, and very powerful sermons. But it's a blessing because we just have a great time. And I've known everyone there since I was basically a kid, I guess.
It's like it's the country church.
It is the epitome of country church,
Yeah.
And if you want to just enjoy a good old time, you should come visit because we have a great time there. Yeah. Good people.
Yeah, it's and again, I don't know why it didn't click about all of it, because I do have family that's in the cemetery out there. Everybody at South Marion County, Gosport, and Columbia Cemetery. I grew up a Columbia kid, and
oh right,
and yeah, it's something else. That the community itself, the county itself, we're very blessed. I always encourage everybody to try Knoxville. Hey, sometime or another, I know I want the other Kevin to come on and talk about the hospital, because again,
absolutely,
we got some stuff going on in Rockstar, and you are the PR guy for there, so you need to make sure that he's straight on what he's going to say for me. All right?
I don't know. That's a big challenge.
That is huge.
I'm learning that's a big challenge now.
Yeah.
He's a good guy. And he's done a lot for this community and for the hospital, and I'm excited for you to bring him on. They've created. I'm blessed to finally work and live in the same town. I've commuted for so many years, and I think Megan McKay, my good high school friend and owner of Peace Tree, said at one point, she's like, finally, Kev, you can focus everything on Knoxville now. You're not fractured driving and commuting in a different community, and I'm blessed. It's just half a block from my house. The hospital is, and Kevin's done an incredible job. I'm blessed to be part of that team because people there are so it's like family,
right?
There's a reason why we've been recognized Best of Red Rock as one of the best employers, and for our hospitality of all things. A hospital being so hospitable.
Right.
When we were competing with other businesses and such. So, and we're a top 100 critical access care hospital in the nation. So we've got something special going on here in town, and I'm excited for him to share that.
I am too. And Kevin's another one of them guys. He left.
He left.
And he didn't have to come back. He had a very successful career.
Yes.
But he chose to come back, and we'll talk to him about why he did that. And also what has happened since he's been here. We'll talk about it with someday, and what the future plans are, because you guys got some big things getting ready to happen.
We do, yeah. So, some exciting stuff. So.
As soon as everybody gets to open their doors up anyway.
Right, exactly. we'll get there. We're going to get there. We're trudging through.
That's right. Hey, folks, another edition of Try Knoxville is in the books, and I never, ever plug the next week, but I happen to have next week's guest lined up already, confirmed. And the only reason I'm saying this is because you already mentioned her name. Megan McKay is going to be on the show next week.
Awesome.
So another big part of Knoxville.
Then I've set the bar really low for her to jump over. So that's awesome. There you go, Megan.
Kevin, thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much.
Make sure you tune in each and every week to Try Knoxville. And as always, we always encourage everybody to give us a shot, whether it's tourism, try a vacation here, try the races. I'll guarantee if you check us out, everything but just the racetrack, or including the racetrack, I should say, you'll find we got more things going on than what you expect. We'll see you next time.